found out about the honeymoon through Instagram of all places. Not even from him, of course not, but from her. The woman he cheated with. There they were, standing on the white sand beaches of Bora Bora, the exact spot I'd spent months planning for. The bungalow over the turquoise water, the champagne on arrival, the romantic dinner under the starset was all mine. Our honeymoon. And she was living it. I stared at the photo, my jaw locked so tight, I could feel my teeth grinding. Ethan had his arm around her waist, the same arm I'd held onto during every tough moment of our relationship. The caption read, "Paradise with my love, blessed forever, forever." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone across the room, like some scorned movie character. No, I just stared. My pulse slowed, my breath came out calm. Something in me snapped, but not in the way you'd think. There's this clarity that comes with betrayal, like everything you thought you knew about someone burns away, and you finally see the truth. Ethan was a liar, a coward, and a fool. And while he thought he was living out his perfect little fantasy with her, I realized something. This trip was mine. The reservation was under my name. I paid for every dime of it. The flights, the luxury villa, even the romantic excursion, sunset cruises, spa treatments, candlelit dinners. I had spent hours on calls with travel agents, making sure everything was perfect. I wanted our honeymoon to feel like magic. So why should I let him ruin it? Within an hour, I had my laptop open. I logged into the resort website, checked the booking. It was all still under Ava Carter, my name. A sly smile spread across my face. He hadn't even bothered to change the details. Classic Ethan. Always assuming it'd roll over and let him take everything. Fine, let's play. I called the resort first. "Hello, this is Ava Carter. I just wanted to confirm my reservation and request a few adjustments." The woman on the phone was polite and cheerful. "Of course, Mistress Carter. What changes would you like?" I listed them off one by one, picturing Ethan's confusion when his plans crumbled. Cancel their spa day. Switch their candlelit dinner reservation to a family table in the nosy restaurant. Upgrade my room to the villa next door. And the kicker? I told them to prepare a special anniversary surprise for me when I arrive: rose petals, champagne, and a private dinner on the beach. By the time I hung up, I had booked a flight. I was going to Bora Bora. And I wasn't going to hide. The heat hit me as I stepped off the plane, and humid, salty breeze carrying the scent of the ocean. Paradise, they called it. Funny how paradise can turn into a battlefield if you play your cards right. The resort was stunning, just like the pictures I'd pinned to our honeymoon board months ago. The wooden villas stretched out over the glowing blue water, the kind of sight that made you forget every ugly thing in the world. But not me, not today. When I checked in, the receptionist looked a little confused. "Mistress Carter, your husband has already arrived." I smiled sweetly. "Oh, I'm aware. Is expecting me." He wasn't, of course, but I wanted that moment when he saw me, standing there, in the same paradise he tried to steal from me. I got to my villa and dropped my bags. The place was gorgeous: private deck, plunge pool, a view of the endless ocean. For a second, I almost felt sad. Almost. Then I remembered that I had a job to do. I saw them later that evening, walking hand in hand along the beach. She was pretty, in a forgettable kind of way: long blonde hair, toned body, the kind of girl who thrives on filtered selfies and validation. Ethan looked smug, like a man who thought he'd won the lottery. I waited until they disappeared into their villa before I called the front desk. "Yes, this is Ava Carter again. I think there's been a mistake with the romantic dinner scheduled for my villa. Could you please switch it to Villa 12? Villa 12? There's." When the knock came on their door that night, I imagined their faces, confused, maybe flustered, when the staff wheeled in champagne and rose petals meant for a Mistress Carter. Let them choke on that. I sat on my deck, sipping wine, the warm breeze tangling my hair. I could hear faint voices from the next villa, over, angry, confused. I smiled. This is only the beginning. People always ask, when did you know? For me, it wasn't a dramatic confession or a lipstick stain on a shirt. It was a feeling, a gut punch of intuition that wouldn't let me sleep. It started 3 months before the wedding. Ethan had become different, always glued to his phone, smiling at texts he wouldn't let me see. Long work dinners that ended after midnight, the smell of perfume clinging to his clothes when he got home. I ignored it at first because that's what we do, right? We lie to ourselves. We want the dream, the fairy tale. I was supposed to be a bride, not a private investigator. Then came her. I didn't know her name at first. Just the shadow of a woman I couldn't quite pin down. It was my friend Natalie who found her Instagram. "Ava, look at this," she said one night, holding up her phone. A photo of Ethan, in a bar I'd never been to, with a brunette, his hand to low on her back. The caption read, "Late night's good company." I stared at that picture for hours. My stomach knotted, my mouth went dry. That was the first crack. The second came when I went through his emails. I never wanted to be that woman, but I had to know. And there at Washatel receipts. Dinners for 2. Secret weekends. I remember sitting in the dark at 3 a.m., laptop glowing, hands trembling, thinking, who the hell is this man I'm marrying? Confronted him the next day. He swore she was just a friend, that I was imagining things. He got angry at me for snooping. Classic gaslighting. And I almost believed him, because I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe that I wasn't throwing years of my life away on someone who didn't love me. But the third crack shattered everything. I saw them, with my own eyes. I was leaving my bridal fitting, when I spotted them across the street, Ethan and her. Laughing, holding hands, kissing like the world didn't exist. I stood there, veil in hand, while people walked past me, and something inside me just snapped. That night, I called off the wedding. No screaming, no drama. I simply told him I knew. I told him he could keep her. He didn't even deny it this time, he just stood there silent. As if I was a problem he didn't have the energy to deal with. I thought that was the end. I thought I'd just walk away and rebuild my life. And I tried. But then, a week later, Natalie sent me another message. Girl, look at this. They're using your honeymoon. Your name's on the booking. He took her there. There they were on Instagram again. Sunset dinners, jet skis, her face glowing with my happiness. It wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. He'd stolen something from me, something I had poured my heart into. And worse, he was giving it to her like I didn't matter. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, staring at those photos, and feeling this strange calm settle over me. Like every hurt, every heartbreak, every tear it held back had transformed into a weapon. He wanted paradise? Fine, I'd give him hell. I spent the next 24 hours turning my pain into strategy. I had the booking details. All the confirmations were in my inbox. He was using my credit card for incidentals. Too stupid to realize I could see every charge in real time. Step 1, book the villa next door. Step 2, cancel every romantic plan I'd made for them. Step 3, make sure their perfect honeymoon turned into a nightmare. But I didn't just want petty revenge. I wanted control. For the first time since this whole mess started, I wanted to feel like I was steering the ship again. And maybe I wanted him to see me. Not the girl who let him walk all over her. Not the fiancée who cried herself to sleep while he was out with someone else. I wanted him to see the woman who could ruin him with a smile. As I sat on my deck that first night listening to the soft waves, I thought about all the nights I'd spent crying, wondering why I wasn't enough. And then I laughed because now I knew it was never about me. It was about him, his weakness, his inability to stay loyal even when he had everything. I raised my glass of wine to the stars. Here's to karma, I whispered. From next door, I heard the sound of raised voices. I smiled, slow and satisfied. Strike one had landed. The next morning, I woke up early. The sunrise painted the sky with gold and pink, the kind of beauty that used to make me think of romance. Today, though, I thought of strategy. I sipped my coffee slowly, listening for signs of life from Villa 12 next door. It didn't take long. The first sound I heard was shouting, muffled at first, then sharper, the kind of anger that crackles like static. I grinned. My anniversary surprise must have arrived. Rose petals, champagne, and a giant card addressed to Mistress Ava Carter. I imagined the look on her face when she saw my name everywhere. I could practically hear the argument in my head. Who the hell is Ava Carter? No one. It's a complicated. Good. Let them fight. I wasn't done. By noon, I was sitting on my deck, flipping through my phone, plotting the next move. Their spa day canceled. I knew she'd be expecting a couple's massage or some romantic nonsense. Instead, I had arranged for a local family of 6 kids included to take their slot. I even added a note for the spa staff. Please accommodate them. They're celebrating a special occasion. Around 1 p.m., I spotted them walking back from the spa. She looked furious, her hands waving as she argued. Ethan's face was pale, his jaw tight. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. He looked like a man who'd just realized the universe wasn't on his side anymore. I pulled my sunglasses down and pretended to read a book when they passed my deck. But I made sure to smirk, just enough for him to see. His eyes flicked toward me. He froze mid-step. I'll never forget that look, shock, the confusion, the faint trace of guilt. He knew I wasn't here by coincidence. Is that? I heard her whisper, but he grabbed her hand and kept walking. Oh, this was going to be fun. Later that day, I strolled over to the resort's water sports kiosk. The guy there was friendly, tanned, and a little too flirtatious. Perfect. I leaned on the counter, smiling like I owned the place. Hi, I said sweetly. I'm Ava Carter. I have a booking for a jet ski tomorrow morning, but I'd like to switch it to this afternoon. He nodded. Sure, I see the reservation. Want me to adjust it? Yes, but here's the thing, I lowered my voice. The other couple, Villa 12, they're my friends. I'd like you to surprise them by saying their session's been bumped. Tell them they need to wait until tomorrow. They'll take their spot. He chuckled. No problem. Thanks. And could you, maybe take extra photos of me? For my socials? I winked. Make it look like I'm having the time of my life. He grinned like it just made his day. By 4 p.m., I was out on the water, hair flying, laughing like I didn't have a care in the world. I knew they were watching from their deck, I could feel it. I made sure to wave as I sped past, my smile sharp as glass. That night, I pulled the ultimate move. I walked into the resort's main restaurant, wearing the red dress Ethan once said was his favorite one he'd bought for our honeymoon. Heads turned, but I only had eyes for the table in the corner, Ethan and his mistress. I could see them tense up when I approached the host. "Table for one," I said, smiling. "Oh, and please send a bottle of your best champagne to that couple over there. Put it on their tab." I gestured toward Ethan. The host blinked, confused, but nodded. As I sat at my own table, I watched the scene unfold. The bottle arrived. Ethan's face turned crimson as the waiter explained, "Compliments of Mistress Carter." She looked at him like he'd just confessed to murder. I almost felt bad for the guy. Almost. Later that night, as I returned to my villa, I found him waiting by my door, alone. His mistress must have gone back inside. He looked like hell sweetie nervous, his jaw tight. "Ava," he said slow. "What the hell are you doing here?" I tilted my head. "Enjoying my honeymoon." He flinched. "Your honeymoon? You canceled the wedding." "Right," I said calmly, stepping closer. "But I didn't cancel the trip. Technically, this is still mine. Everything here is mine. You're just borrowing it." "Ava, this is crazy, is it?" I smiled. "I paid for every single part of this trip, Ethan. You took her here on my dime, so tell me again, which part of this is crazy? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like karma." He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. I could almost see the gears turning in his head, trying to find the right words to make me back down. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I didn't shrink. I didn't cry. I just stared back, daring him to challenge me. Finally, he muttered, "You can't just ruin this for me." I laughed. "Oh, sweetheart, I can, and I will." I stepped inside and shut the door in his face. As I poured myself a glass of wine, I thought that's strike 3. Tomorrow it'd step it up. Tomorrow, it'd make sure the cracks between them turned into craters. The next morning, I woke up to shouting. Not the mild bickering it heard last night, but full-on throat-straining screaming. It was coming from Villa 12. I rolled over, smiling into my pillow, savoring the sound like it was music. I slipped on my silk robe, poured myself a coffee, and stepped onto my deck. The ocean sparkled like a jewel, but my attention was locked on the couple next door. Their voices carried over the water. "You didn't tell me your wife, ex-fiancé," Ethan barked. "She's here, watching us like some psycho. She's not supposed to be here." I sipped my coffee slowly. "Oh, but I am, I thought." At breakfast, I made sure to sit where they could see me. I ordered everything indulgent croissants, fresh fruit, and a mimicin laughed a little too loudly when the server complimented me. I could feel Ethan's eyes on me like lasers. Then came my favorite part of the morning. I waved down the waiter. "Hi, could you send an extra basket of pastries to that couple over there? Tell them it's from Mistress Carter." The waiter nodded, oblivious to the storm brewing at their table. From my seat, I watched the mistress, let's call her Kelsey, since I finally overheard her name, snarl something at Ethan. She shoved her chair back and stormed out. Ethan sat there alone, face pale, eyes darting to me. I raised my glass in a mock toast. By midday, I decided it was time for Act 2 of my little show. I grabbed a bright yellow bikini, one I knew Ethan had once loved, and headed to the infinity pool. I stretched out on a lounge chair, book in hand, sunglasses on, looking like I didn't have a care in the world. But I was watching, always watching. Ethan showed up not long after, Kelsey trailing behind him. She was scowling, clearly still mad from breakfast. They picked a spot across from me. Perfect. The pool attendant walked by, and I stopped him with a smile. "Could you bring me the resort's signature cocktail? Oh, and please send another round to that couple. Tell them it's on Mistress Carter." The attendant nodded, oblivious. I swear I saw Kelsey's head whip around so fast I thought she'd get whiplash. She glared at me like she wanted to throw me into the pool. Ethan grabbed her arm, murmuring something, but she yanked it away and stomped off. Again, rounded to me. An hour later, Ethan approached my chair. His face was red, whether from the sun or fury, I couldn't tell. "Ava," he said through gritted teeth, "this has to stop." I peered up at him over my sunglasses. "Oh, hello, Ethan. Enjoying your honeymoon?" His jaw tightened. "You're ruining this for me." I laughed softly. "You ruined this for me the moment you brought her here. I'm just balancing the scales. You're acting insane." "No, darling," I said, voice low and sweet. "I'm acting like a woman who refuses to let a cheating bastard take her money and walk away smiling. You should thank me, I'm giving you memories you'll never forget." He looked like he wanted to strangle me. But then Kelsey came back, glaring between us like a hawk. "What the hell is this?" she demanded. Ethan stammered. She's just leaving. Right, Ava?" I smiled, slow and dangerous. "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." That evening, I decided to play my boldest card yet. I called the front desk. Hi, this is Mistress Carter. I'd like to confirm the sunset cruise tomorrow night. Oh, and I'd like to switch the names on the guest list. Yes, make it Ava Carter +1. +1, the concierge asked. Yes, I said, grinning. I'll be bringing a guest. I didn't have a +1 yet, but that was about to change. At the bar, I'd noticed a man tall, tanned, with dark hair and an easy smile. He'd been watching me all night, in the way men watch women who look like they have stories to tell. When he approached, his accent was smooth, French maybe. You look like someone who's enjoying paradise, he said. I smiled. Actually, I could use some company tomorrow night. Sunset cruise. Interested? His smile widened. I'd be honored. Perfect. Later that night, I passed Villa 12 on my way back to my room and caught the sound of their argument again. This time it was brutal. I told you I have no idea why she's here. Ethan shouted. Oh, sure, so you just happen to be on a honeymoon booked under your ex name? Are you kidding me? She's crazy. No, you're the crazy one for thinking I'm going to sit here while your wife plays games with us. I leaned against my deck railing, sipping wine and smiling. If Kelsey dumped him mid-trip, that would be my crowning achievement. Tomorrow, I'd deliver the knockout punch. The sunset cruise would be my stage, and Ethan would watch me laugh and sparkle with another man while his little fantasy burned to the ground. The next evening, I stood on the dock in a flowing white dress, the kind that catches the breeze and makes you look like you belong in a movie. My hair was loose, skin glowing from the sun, and beside me stood Julian, me last minute +1. Julian was trouble in the best way. French, effortlessly charming, with that smirk that says, I know you're up to something, but I want in. When I told him my little revenge plot over drinks the night before, he laughed and said, I'd like to meet this ex of yours. Let's give him a show. Crew welcomed us onto the boat, and I scanned the deck. There they were, Ethan and Kelsey. He looked stiff, like someone waiting for a bomb to go off. Kelsey looked like she wanted to murder him and everyone else in sight. Ah, Julian whispered, leaning close. The infamous Ethan? I smirked. The one and only. We made an entrance. Julian wrapped an arm around my waist as if it were second nature. He whispered something in French that I didn't understand but made me laugh, a rich, genuine laugh that carried over the water. I could feel Ethan's stare from across the deck. I glanced his way and gave a small knowing wave. Kelsey turned to him with narrowed eyes. You didn't tell me she was going to be here again, she hissed. I didn't know, Ethan muttered, but even from here, I could see the sweat forming on his forehead. Julian and I claimed a prime spot on the boat's upper deck. The sunset was breathtaking, molten orange bleeding into purple, but I was more interested in the storm brewing below. Every time I laughed, every time Julian touched my hand or tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, Kelsey's face twisted tighter. Halfway through the cruise, the crew brought out champagne. Julian, ever the gentleman, grabbed two glasses and raised one high. To paradise, he said, his accent making the word sound like poetry. To freedom, I added, holding his gaze and clinking my glass against his. I didn't have to look at Ethan to know he heard. It happened suddenly. Julian and I were taking photos near the railing, him holding the camera, me smiling like I owned the world, when I heard Kelsey's voice slice through the evening air. Are you serious right now, Ethan? Look at her. She's having the time of her life while I'm stuck here with you and your baggage. Kelsey, just calm down. Calm down. You dragged me here on your honeymoon with another woman. Do you realize how pathetic that makes me look? I turned slightly, pretending not to listen, but Julian leaned in and whispered, moaned you. This is better than reality TV. I bit back a laugh. Kelsey's voice rose another octave. You told me she was out of the picture, that she was nothing, but she's here, living it up, and you. Ethan hissed something under his breath. But I caught it. This is exactly what she wants. Don't give her the satisfaction. Oh, Ethan, too late. Julian, sensing the perfect opportunity, wrapped an arm around me and kissed my temple. You look beautiful tonight, Ava, he said, loud enough for them to hear. I leaned into him, smiling like I was on top of the world. Thank you. You make this place even better. Ethan's face was a storm cloud. Kelsey threw up her hands, muttered something about being done, and stomped to the lower deck. She didn't come back for the rest of the cruise. Julian and I stayed up top, sipping champagne, and watching Ethan sulk in the corner. Every time our eyes met, I gave him that serene, unbothered smile, one that said, I won. As the cruise neared its end, Ethan finally snapped. He marched over to me, his face red, his voice low but shaking with anger. What are you doing, Ava? He demanded. You're humiliating me. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Humiliating you? Oh no, Ethan. I'm just enjoying the trip I paid for. You brought your side piece here and thought it'd roll over? You should be humiliated. You're acting like a child, he spat. No, I said calmly, leaning closer so only he could hear. I'm acting like a woman who's done being your doormat. Look around, Ethan. Your girlfriend just stormed off, your little paradise is crumbling, and guess what? It's only going to get worse. Julian stepped in then, his voice smooth but firm. Is there a problem here? Ethan glared at him, then at me, but didn't answer. He stormed off, muttering curses under his breath. When the cruise ended, Julian walked me back to my villa. The night air was warm, carrying the faint sound of waves. That was entertaining, he said with a grin. Do you feel better? I thought about it. Better? Not exactly. But I feel powerful, and that's enough for now. He kissed my hand. Power looks good on you. I watched him walk away, a small smile tugging at my lips. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again, sharp, alive and touchable. Tomorrow, I plan to finish what I started. If Kelsey wasn't already packing her bags, it'd give her a reason to. And Ethan, he finally understand what it felt like to lose everything. The morning after the cruise, the entire resort felt quieter. Maybe it was just me, soaking in the afterglow of last night's chaos. Or maybe it was the fact that Villa 12 hadn't made a peep all morning. No shouting, no laughter, nothing. I lounged on my deck, drinking fresh pineapple juice and scrolling through my phone. Sure enough, Kelsey's Instagram stories had gone silent. Interesting. Last night must have hit harder than I thought. But I wasn't done. Not yet. By mid-morning, it put my next move into action. I called the concierge desk. Hi, this is Ava Carter. I need to make an announcement about the villa under my name. Yes, Villa 12. I want to update the billing. All charges need to come off my card immediately. If Mr. Ethan Carter has any further expenses, he can pay for them himself. The woman on the phone sounded startled but compliant. Certainly, Mistress Carter. I'll make the changes right now. Perfect. Ethan had been living on my tab. Not anymore. Then I made a small but devastating adjustment. I asked the concierge to deliver an envelope to Villa 12 containing copies of the original booking confirmations and payment receipts all in my name. I added a handwritten note. My honeymoon? Hope she's worth it. Ava. It wasn't just about money anymore. I wanted Kelsey to know she wasn't some romantic partner. She was just the side chick tagging along on a vacation I paid for. It didn't take long. Around noon, I saw her storming toward me across the resort grounds. Kelsey. She was still stunning, even with her fury blazing like wildfire. You're Ava? She spat, hands on her hips. I smiled, deliberately slow. The one and only. You must be Kelsey. You're a psycho, she snapped. Showing up here messing with our plans? I cut her off, standing up. Sweetheart, this entire trip was mine. Every dinner, every activity, every villa upgrade. I planned this honeymoon for my marriage, and your boyfriend thought he could waltz in here with you like I wouldn't find out? Her face faltered, just for a second. He told me you two were done. Oh, we are, I said coolly. But let me guess, also told you he paid for this paradise? That is some kind of generous, romantic hero? She didn't answer. The silence told me everything. I leaned in, my voice dropping. Check the receipts in that envelope I sent. Every cent you're sipping on? That's my money. Kelsey's mouth opened, then snapped shut. Her anger seemed to shift, like the target had just changed. And it wasn't me anymore. That evening, the resort was hosting a welcome dinner on the beach for new guests. I saw my opportunity. I dressed in a sleek black dress, simple but lethal, and strolled in with Julian on my arm. He'd become my unofficial co-star in this little production. Ethan and Kelsey were already there, sitting far apart at the communal tables. Perfect. Julian and I were seated just 2 tables away. When the resort manager made his welcome speech, I slipped a little note to one of the staff members. Moments later, the staffer stepped up to the microphone with a bright smile. Ladies and gentlemen, would like to give a special mention to Mistress Ava Carter, who's been with us for this romantic honeymoon experience. We hope it's been unforgettable. The table erupted into polite applause. I smiled sweetly, raising my glass. Ethan's face turned beet red. Kelsey looked like she'd just put 2 and 2 together and come up with you lying piece of trash. It was like watching a volcano erupt. Kelsey turned on Ethan so fast I thought she might hit him. You brought me on her honeymoon? She shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads turned. You told me this was yours. That you plan all this for us. Ethan stammered. Kelsey, Oh, don't even start. She snapped, shoving back from the table. You're a joke, Ethan. A pathetic, cheating joke. You know what? I'm done. I'm not staying here another night. She grabbed her bag and stormed off, leaving him sitting there like a deflated balloon. I took a slow sip of my wine, smiling just enough for him to see. Julian leaned in, whispering magnifique. Later, as the dinner wound down, Ethan approached me. He looked broken, sweat on his bra, shoulders slumped. Ava, he said, his voice almost a whisper. Why are you doing this? I set down my glass. Because you deserved it. You humiliated me, Ethan. You lied, you cheated, and you tried to live out our dream with someone else. Did you really think I'd let you enjoy it? He sighed. I made a mistake, okay? I'm sorry. Too late, I said coldly. This is what happens when you treat people like trash. Consider this your lesson. By the time I got back to my villa, I saw a flurry of movement next door, Kelsey's bags being wheeled out. She was gone. Ethan stood alone on the deck, staring at the water like it could save him. I raised my glass toward him, a silent toast to his misery, and closed my door. Tomorrow would be done. I'd enjoy my last days here in peace with Julian, made with the satisfaction of knowing it'd turn Ethan's dream trip into a nightmare. But before I left, I had one last card to play. I woke up the next morning with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Last night's chaos had stripped everything bare. Ethan was exposed, Kelsey was gone, and I was still standing. Stronger, sharper. But I wasn't finished it quite yet. The honeymoon wasn't over until I said it was. Before breakfast, I drafted an email. Not to Ethan, wasn't worth another direct word, but to his boss, the one who thought Ethan was a family man. I attached a few of Kelsey's public Instagram posts from the honeymoon with a polite note. Hi, thought you might want to see what Ethan's been up to on company time. Especially since he told everyone he was away working. Regards, Ava Carter. I didn't know if it would ruin his career, but I didn't really care. Karma worked best when it came from all angles. At breakfast, I made sure to arrive late, dressed in a simple but killer outfit: white linen pants, a silk top, hair loose around my shoulders. Julian was already there, sipping coffee and flashing me that lazy grin. Bonjour, ma belle, he said, standing to kiss my cheek. Did you sleep well? Like a queen, I replied, smiling as I noticed Ethan sitting alone at a nearby table, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Perfect. We sat close, laughing softly over breakfast while I made sure Ethan could hear snippets of conversation. Julian played along flawlessly, brushing my hand as we shared croissants, leaning in like we'd known each other forever. At one point, Julian caught me staring at Ethan. That's him, isn't it? He asked quietly. I said, popping a grape into my mouth. The man who thought he could steal my honeymoon and walk away smiling. Julian's lips curved. Not smiling now. Been saving this part's grand finale. The resort had a guest board where people posted thank you notes and photos of their special moments. It was cheesy, but I saw an opportunity. After breakfast, I handed one of the staff members a printed photo, me and Julian on the sunset cruise, both of us laughing with the sky blazing orange behind us. On the note, I wrote, to the most beautiful honeymoon I never planned to share, thank you for making me realize I deserve better. Ava Carter. Within an hour, the note was pinned front and center on the board in the resort lobby, right where every guest and staff member could see. Later, I spotted Ethan standing in front of it, shoulders hunched, his face pale as he read my words. I walked past him, slow and deliberate, and whispered, this is what happens when you underestimate me. He didn't say a word. He just turned and walked away. Julian and I spent the afternoon by the pool. At one point, Ethan approached, hesitating like he was gathering the courage to speak. Ava, he started, voice rough. I didn't even look up from my book. What? I didn't think you'd do all this. I didn't think you had it in you. I lowered my sunglasses and met his eyes. Yeah, Ethan, you never thought much of me, did you? You saw me as safe, predictable, someone you could betray and walk all over without consequence. Surprise. He ran a hand over his face, looking lost. I'm sorry, for everything. I mean it. I tilted my head, pretending to consider. You know what? I believe you. But you don't get forgiveness. You don't get me. You get to live with the fact that you ruined something beautiful, and then had to watch me make it better without you. He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, but no words came. Finally, he turned and walked away. At night, Julian and I had the private dinner on the beach, one I'd originally booked for Ethan and me. It was everything he'd dreamed of. Soft candlelight waves crashing gently nearby, the night air warm and sweet. As we toasted with champagne, Julian grinned. So, what happens next, Ava? After all this? I thought about it. I go home. I build something new. Something that doesn't involve chasing after someone who doesn't deserve me. He raised his glass. To new beginnings. To freedom, I said, smiling. Across the resort, I saw Ethan watching from the shadows, alone and broken. It wasn't pity, I felt it was closure. He would never forget this trip, and neither would I. On my last morning, I packed my bags with a strange sense of peace. I'd come here angry, ready to burn everything down. But I was leaving lighter, freer, almost grateful. Because without Ethan's betrayal, I might never have found this fire inside me. Julian offered to drive me to the airport, but I declined. He was a sweet distraction, but this was something I needed to do alone. As I checked out, the receptionist smiled. We hope to see you again, Mistress Carter. Did you enjoy your honeymoon? I smiled back. Oh, it was unforgettable. When my plane lifted off, I looked out at the turquoise water one last time. I wasn't thinking about Ethan anymore. I was thinking about the woman I'd become, one who refused to let anyone steal her power again. Coming home felt strange. The city was the same, my apartment still carried the faint scent of vanilla candles and old heartbreak. But I wasn't the same woman who had left a week ago. I'd gone to Bora Bora with fire in my veins and revenge on my mind. But I came back with something far better, clarity. First thing I did was strip every trace of Ethan from my life. Photos, old clothes he'd left behind, even the stupid mug he always used for coffee, all of it went into a box. I left it on the curb with a note that read free. Just like me. It felt good. No, it felt liberating. Then I called my bank and officially removed him from every account he'd ever touched. The honeymoon charges? Paid in full by him. It made sure of it before I left Bora Bora. He wouldn't be living on my generosity ever again. A few days later, Ethan tried to call. I ignored him. He left a message that started with an apology and ended with a pathetic plea to talk things out. I deleted it without listening to the rest. I didn't need closure from him anymore. I'd already taken it back piece by piece under the warm Bora Bora sun. One morning, I found myself at a cafe I'd never been to before. A quiet place with great coffee and even better pastries. As I sat there, writing in my journal, I realized I wasn't thinking about Ethan or the revenge or even Julian. I was thinking about me. Who was I now? The truth was I didn't know yet. But for the first time in a long time, that didn't scare me. That night, I wrote a letter to Ethan. I didn't send it. It wasn't for him. It was for me. Ethan, I hope you remember that honeymoon forever. I hope every time you think of paradise, you see my face calm, unbothered, laughing with someone better. You didn't break me. You made me stronger. And one day, you'll realize you lost the best thing you ever had. By then, it'll be too far gone to care. Ava. I folded it and tucked it into my journal, like a period at the end of a chapter. A week later, I got an email from Julian. It was short, sweet, and made me smile. I'll never forget that sunset cruise. You're something else, Ava. If you ever want to see Paris, I'll be your tour guide. Julian. I didn't know if I'd take him up on it. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't. But it felt good to know I had options, new places, new faces, a whole world waiting for me. Sometimes, I think back to that moment I saw the first photo of Ethan and Kelsey in Bora Bora. The anger, the pain, the shock. And I realized that if I hadn't turned that pain into action, I might still be stuck there crying, doubting myself, thinking I wasn't enough. But I was enough. I am enough. Ethan took her on my honeymoon. But in the end, I came back with something neither of them ever had, my self-respect. My power. My freedom.